Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here, Golden Opportunities Coaching. Welcome to those of you who are new. Welcome back to those of you who are seasoned veterans of what we do around here. What we do around here is break down social, emotional, and coaching-related topics in discernible language for everyone to understand. And we try to do that as often as possible. If there's a topic you'd like to see discussed, please comment below, like, subscribe, and do all that good stuff. Anyway, we're going to talk today about when a relationship has already closed, even if you're still in it. And there's a few topics that are kind of easy to go through, so this shouldn't be too terribly long, but it's there. And I want to run through about half a dozen or so of these. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And these are things that, if you're noticing them in a relationship you're in, then, you are ultimately done with the relationship, even if it's still going on. If there's always false hope. So if you're constantly talking to a person about changing and they say they love you and then the change never happens. Look, people change because they desire to, because something in them is activated that changing is a good idea. And you may be a catalyst for that. You may be an inspiration for that, but you will never be the reason. The reason has to come from within the person, otherwise the change won't stick. And I know a lot of people find that uncomfortable. There's a misnomer within, especially Western culture, that says, if he or she loves me enough, he'll change. And that is complete BS, because they have to want the change themselves. Now, they may look at a situation and say that, I'm going to change, or I understand the need to change. But if they really understood it, they'd be taking action to back up the words. And it's very easy to tell someone what they want to hear on a regular basis. I mean, ultimately, we all know that no one wants to hear us disagree with them. Deep down, we know that agreement is what most people communicate for, right? Like, whoever walked into a conversation and said, gee, I hope this person thinks I'm wrong. Not many people. So there's a certain level of repeat nature to the fact that you're going to enter a conversation with somebody and they're going to say they're going to change, and then they get your hopes up and they don't change. And then it happens again and again and again. And how many times can you be in that situation before you're the fool? The relationship has ended, but you're holding on to the false hope that a person's giving you that things are going to change. And that comes down to the next thing on the list, which is taking responsibility. Really, if a relationship fails, it's a 50-50 thing most of the time. Now, there are extreme cases where a person is just completely being unreasonable and just being difficult and uncaring. But the reality is, if you're tolerating that behavior, then you're condoning it. And if you're condoning it, there's no incentive for the other person to change. So at some level, you have to take some, not all, but close to 50% in most cases, sometimes a little less, responsibility for the fact that by tolerating a behavior you do not want, it's the same as saying to the person they don't have to change. So if you're telling them to change and they're not changing, and then you're taking them back anyway, you're kind of involved in your own circle where it's like, wait a second, this person is not doing what they need to do. This person is not behaving in a manner that's going to further our relationship, but I'm tolerating it, and they're taking advantage of my kindness. They're taking advantage of my soft heart, whatever the case may be. And the blame game is another thing. Well, if you did this, then da-da-da-da. And if I did this, then this and that. The reality of the blame game is it serves no purpose. We can say this is this person's fault, this is that person's fault all day long, but the reality of it is the fault doesn't matter, it's the progress that does. So while getting people to take responsibility for their wrongdoings or misgivings is important, it's important for the sake of moving things forward, not because them actually taking responsibility changes anything. It's taking responsibility and then changing for the future that changes things. So the responsibility without the desire to change, without the impetus behind the focus on change, is completely useless, because I can take responsibility for punching you in the face, but if I don't go, and I'm not going to do it again, and here's how I'm going to deal with my anger instead, it doesn't matter. There has to be change coupled with responsibility taking for progress to ever be made. So, you know, if a person's not willing to take any responsibility or blame for things that cause harm, it's a red flag that the relationship's already over. This is especially true in Machiavellian and narcissistic situations where things are twisted and gaslighted into a person actually doubting. And this is when I say a person, I'm talking about the survivor of abusive behavior, doubting whether what's happening to them is actually true or not. And so, what happens generally is a person is so confused and so shaken and so traumatized by repeated questioning of their intention or their ability um, to go forward. It's a problem because we have to learn from the missteps, we have to learn from the mistakes, and we have to be able to find compromise and greater value to, okay, how do we go forward from here without hurting each other again? Any healthy relationship has one central rule: do ye no harm intentionally, right? So you might hurt a person's feelings without meaning to, and and it's very important to realize that hurting people by mistake or joking at an inappropriate moment or not having control of your emotions, that happens. But if you're not learning from it and growing from it, it doesn't matter what you say you're going to do. It matters what you do. I tell clients all the time that a person's actions will show you more than their words ever can. And so there's a lot that goes into um, is the action changing? And you have to understand, too, that with any breakup, it becomes emotional pain. You have to grieve the process of um, the loss of what you thought you had, the loss of everything you've built up in your mind, the loss of time spent, the loss of the years put into the relationship that didn't pay off the way you planned. There is a grieving process. But the pain in the leaving of any situation will pass. And here's the other side. On the occasion that you are a person that it never passes, that means you need trauma recovery assistance. It does not mean go out there and get into another relationship. It does not mean rush yourself through the healing process. It does not mean that somebody else will treat you differently in the future. You just picked badly. It means that this has shattered a part of how you see yourself or the world around you, and you need to find a way to put yourself back together, kind of like a kaleidoscope. There's beauty in a kaleidoscope because there's many different pieces to it, but you have to shake it into alignment to be able to see the pieces, right? Because otherwise they're just shiny pieces of whatever, and there's no picture to be seen. Trauma can be like that. If you focus only on the trauma, there is no recovery. So you have to learn how to refocus, heal, grow, then become open to new possibilities. And that's the other thing too. When we hold on to one person or one situation relationally as our only solution, we knock out like 7 billion other people on the planet who might be better for us and actually, believe it or not, better for our partner. So I've seen so many times that there are people who will stay in something for 10, 15, 20 years, and they go, at the end of it, and I can use my own parents as an example, at the end of it, they go, I wasn't happy for X amount of years. And usually it's towards the north end. And it's like, well, wait, so you chose to engage in the action of staying unhappy for whatever reason, and now you're blaming the other person for it? Well, that's kind of dumb. Go headbutt a brick wall. When in reality, we have to be open to the fact that what we want a person may not desire to be, what we want a person may not be capable of being, and then we have to let go of the illusion that they ever were that thing or that they wanted to be that thing. And it's important to realize that not everyone desires to be what we want them to be. So it's important to do all of that, and I would close on that note. But if there's a topic you want to hear discussed here, uh, poor English, but you get my point. Please feel free to reach out and comment below. And until next time, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.